getting pushed and you know what's going on.
No, I don't need, no.
Two
Two at a time.
After that now.
Two at a time is enough.
You were next time?
All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'll call the October 13, 2025 Board of Education regular meeting to order. Meeting is held in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is on the wall right there. Before we take a roll, Steve had a work conflict. He's out of town currently, so he's joining us via Zoom. As a reminder, on Zoom, he won't be able to vote on any matters or anything like that. However, he can listen and then can converse with us as well. So prior to taking roll, I'll make a motion to excuse Steve Slikis from the October 2025 Board of Education regular meeting.
Second.
And moving second, is there any further discussion? Let's vote.
Chase Carter.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Steve Slikis. Sharon Wilmot.
Yes.
Jason Art.
Yes.
Cass Fletcher.
No.
All right. Motion carries. With that, we will take roll now.
Jason Art.
Here.
Cassie Fletcher.
Here.
Chase Carter.
Here.
Brian Locker.
Here.
Steve Slikis. Sharon Wilmot.
All right, we have a quorum. Let's go to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda 1.4 is approval of regular meeting agenda. I would entertain a motion. Thank you, Brian. It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Cassie, we moved in second. Any discussion? Let's vote.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Sharon Wilmot.
Yes.
Jason Art.
Yes.
Cassie Fletcher.
Yes.
Chase Carter.
Yes.
I kind of said it like there was supposed to be one more.
Gotcha. Welcome to Guest and Public Forum. Is there anybody here who'd like to address the board tonight? Okay. We'll move on to agenda 3, consent agenda. In here, you'll see minutes of the previous meeting, as well as financials and report of financials, and just highlight a couple things Dr. Lewis and I talked about. You'll see the hot lunch transfer for September in there. As you'll recall, it was not on last month's transfer just due to timing, so both of those are on there and highlighted on the first page. And then on the check register, a couple things here. The DB Nebraska service charges repairs on RTU, that will be submitted to insurance.
Yeah, it has been already.
For reference, that's some more of our insurance claims on there.
What is RTU? What is that?
It's very technical and electrical, and it has something to do with the track.
It's
Okay, I'm
it's
like,
for-
RTU.
It's that, yeah, so that the $472 one, and the $10,839. And then there was another one that we already paid last month that are all submitted now, so mine is the deductible. That claim is closed out.
Okay, so RTU has to do with the HVAC.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what RTU is, Jason?
UL Education Service for AET program, that's a program for industrial tech. Ms. Agler had that on there.
There's a couple of big ones too.
There's numerous things for paint at Menards and other. That is for all the painting of the football field during the season. There's just it's kind of some random ones, so that's why it looks a little strange, but they're all for the same purpose, if you will.
So are those each individual, like, do they do that weekly, or why is there so many separate ones?
Yeah, they painted, it takes sometimes more than one trip to walk to the football field.
Okay,
But yes, they painted every week.
okay. So like the $421.20 was from 1 week, and then the next $400.20 was from another week. Is that right? Okay. Why are some weeks different than other weeks when we've been paying the football field for a while? We should probably know how much to buy.
Yeah, but you run out as you're going, so.
Yeah, so I'm saying we
Yeah.
should
You
know.
probably
how
have
much
some
to
left
buy.
over, they have
Yeah,
some
you
left
start
over.
with, you have left
before
over.
something.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't,
You're never come out exactly.
Yeah, I get that. You're not gonna come out exactly, but we're ranging like $300 sometimes. I mean, there's a big range. And they were at Menards and then we switch over to Sherwin-Williams.
Menards was not,
Menards is down. It is half the price at Menards. We are purchasing from Menards.
Menards moving forward.
yes.
Okay, great.
NASB Alley Cap, obviously that's our big union insurance policy that has gone up over the years, obviously, everybody's tracking insurance, things like that. But we usually see that every year, so that's a big expense on there.
Said one thing on the school boards, for what it costs to take that one down, we better make sure the next person that.
Yep.
Like commits, we better have a check before we make.
Yeah, and we did have a check. We just
Right.
only have a check. Yes, yep, absolutely.
What is the Ross schools?
That is, for our students that are deaf or hard of hearing, they provide us. That is yeah, it was second semester last year. They just got the building to us late.
Oh,
And they did have some turnover in that department, so.
They had handed it to a staff member at a meeting and she had it in her case and for that.
ooh,
The Trigon Sports International baseball field, that was also an insurance deal.
Yes.
That was torn during the windstorm.
And we already got paid for that. And it was already installed. Again, we just delayed the bill. The bill was due.
You'll see, I was going through some highlights, we can come back. You'll see on the hand tables, the vans on there to Woodhouse that the board approved. You'll also see for Agile Sports Technical Package on there. That is year 2 of the 3-year agreement that the board discussed due to lock in that price, as well as for year 2 of year 3 on that.
what is, back on kind of the first page of the register, check register, citywide facility solutions, gym cleanup? What is that?
After our games in the evenings, we don't have custodians on staff, so a cleaning crew, they started doing this a year ago.
Yeah.
And we did it last year too, so they come in those late nights after our games.
I just didn't
I'm not sure how
recognize
many-
that.
might have been for a couple of games.
Yeah, I just didn't recognize that, like, person or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if they changed names, but we haven't seen them on bills that often. It's
Those
usually,
were for September, so. those were-
yeah, so the first of the year, and it's the last one that we've had probably since March. I mean, the first one that we've had since March, the last one, but then not that one. Is that, it's probably for a couple of games at that first one.
Regarding the hand payables with the vans. I felt like that was higher than than I was anticipating. I thought we were talking more around like 180 for all 3 vans.
63, 64, I mean, the bill is right.
So that was the van plus the alterations to each of them. So one was like 64, one was 63, and one was. Exactly what it was.
They were all around 64, so that's where you get the other $12,000 from. That's, yeah, 60 would have been 180.
Yeah.
But if there were 64,000, that's where the other.
And what did we approve for all 3? What was our amount?
We purchased 3 for a price not to exceed each one 65,000. I think was the price that I had on it because they weren't exactly sure they were getting 4 in.
Yes,
So.
so we were kind of,
So yeah, it
Yep.
did not exceed what we approved last.
we'll kind of touch on that later. You did.
In the financials,
I don't want to stop you,
You go
before
for
you ask.
Yeah.
On the page 7, general fund, where it shows receipts, expenditures, and things like that.
Mhm.
So obviously, this columns are zeroed out. That will wait to be updated until, after the audit. Is that correct, Dr. Lewis?
after the AR and all that is taken care of, then we can upload this year's budget that you already put into the system, and then you'll have those figures. Sorry. Yearbook, talking about the activity balances, yes. Yearbook, it shows that there's, $60 that's been brought in, is that correct? Yes, as of this year. So, and you're,
Yes, we are.
you're kind of in arrears, right?
Yeah.
So, I went back and checked last month, that had about a $700 positive balance. In the meantime, they got, it had to have been a bill that we approved from Wallsworth last month for $4,100 for the yearbook, so that came in and went on activities. And so, we kind of, that was for last year's yearbook, basically.
Okay.
So, Mr. Finkston had a conversation about this because he's talked with principals at other schools to see what they do, and we've talked with this, about this with Scott. And it's probably been 2 or 3 years we've been talking about it on the boards too, because it just kind of, always runs in the wall. But, so, it is a class that the students take, and it's the cost of doing business of this class. So, I'm going to probably, Mr. Kingston and I would like to bring this back to the curriculum committee and see what we want to do about this moving forward. If it's something that should not even be in the activity because it's a class, should be in the general fund, should be budgeting for it there. It's just kind of, it's not a money-making thing anymore, and you don't, I mean, Ms. Parson is the sponsor of that, so how do you ask him to like find other ways to raise money that he's already doing when he's also struggling at everything? So our organizations raise money by doing concession stands primarily, or running other things. They sell ads, they sell books, and it just doesn't always cover the cost.
Yeah.
But you're always kind of playing catch up on it. So what they raised this year will get us out of the last year's book. So anyway, we'll bring that back to the curriculum committee next time we meet, and we'll talk about how we want to move that going forward. We've been having this conversation since we've been here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that, just was like $60, that's it? That's interesting. Pepsi, why is Pepsi separate from concession stand? Like, why is it not in the concession stand, because isn't that what we buy with?
Yes and
Isn't
no,
that what we
like there's a thing out there, that's probably the Pepsi that is for. So there's a
Okay.
vending machine in the hallway that has some beverages for the students, and I think that's the Pepsi account, but because Pepsi is also concessions, am I wrong about that, Jen? Am I saying that wrong? Like this Pepsi
Yes.
one here.
It's
the hallway one.
always been 2 separate accounts for as long as I've been here. I believe the Pepsi is the Pepsi vending.
Okay, so that's how they just break those apart to keep track of something, okay. Or of course, just noticed that. Last question I have on all of those activities is that I just noticed, like a bunch of the ones, the 7, bottom 700s, like boys and girls golf, cross country, track and field, they all have a deposit of $1,000. What is that?
That's from the golf tournament that I have in the summer.
Oh,
Okay, so I'm like, that's so odd for all of them
Because
to suddenly have $1,000.
all 14 sports received, 14 sports and sports, including cheer and dance,
Okay.
received $1,000 from the golf tournament this year.
Okay.
So some of them just had other receipts as well, so.
Okay.
And that's what that, yeah, it just, takes a while to get that all figured out. That's the one school, one team, isn't it? So that's why you saw that go from $15,000 to $2,100. Is that reality?
Okay. There's some things moving around. In finances, I want to make sure I'm in the right thing. I guess it would be with special building fund. Jason talked on it a little bit about with the sign, that's like replacement of the sign for basically $500. Is that coming out of then the special building fund, because it has to do with the sign,
We paid for that originally.
It was out of general? Okay.
Maintenance, building maintenance. is what we pay for that.
Okay.
And like get broken or something?
We had a non-payer didn't fulfill obligations of their contract, so we took their time.
Got it.
I think that's all I have in that for now.
Okay. Anybody else, any items?
I would just, we're going to have to, once we get the AFR rolled out and we see where the activity balance settles out, we did budget this year for an additional transfer beginning of the year to get that activities portion of it. So what we will do is take the negative balance on the AFR in activities and transfer that amount. I suspect it's going to be around the 32,000. But we'll let the auditor give us those final statements on that, and then we'll get that transfer made and get that at an even keel.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, is there any further discussion? Let's vote.
Sharon Moore. Yes. Jason Mark.
Yes.
Cassie Foster.
Yes.
Chase Cargill.
Yes.
Brian Walker.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 4, curriculum instruction reports. Count tonight we have, this is tough.
Hello.
We will turn it over to you, Neil.
So I am half of the counseling department. Mr. Kraus is the elementary counselor. I say I'm half of the department, but really we have a lot of other individuals that also work with us. So not included on there, we have a therapist from Arbor Family, as well as our therapist through the ESU, and we also have a Metro liaison, his official title is navigator, that is in the building. So even though there's 2 of us full-time, we have a lot of other moving parts within our kind of bigger department as well. So we cover kind of 4 main areas: core curriculum, individual student planning, indirect services, and responsive services. That's basically just a fancy way of saying we work with students, with staff, with families, and with outside organizations to support students. Touched on this a little bit, our school mental health services. So our probably the biggest change since my last board report, our therapist from the ESU is now here 3 days a week. That doesn't cost us anything extra. That's just a change with going from the Systems of Care grant to the GLOW grant. We got some additional time with that. So Katie's here 3 days a week. She goes through insurance and then works with families if there's financial need for covering the rest of the costs. And then our therapist is here 3 hours a week. That service, the school pays for that service, and then families, students, their families, and staff and their families can also see Arbor at their Omaha office, which again, the board pays to have that service for us. So both are well used. The GLOW grant therapist, there's a few more hoops that families have to jump through to receive services from that grant, I guess, just grant requirements versus Arbor Family, they just have to sign a consent form. And then room of requirements, just an update, it is officially done. It was a labor of love last fall to get that. That's a fully donation funded space for students to receive access to clothing, shoes, school supplies, hygiene items. The only items we have in the room that are not brand new is some Eagle gear, which we've had staff bring in some gently used stuff. Otherwise, everything in there is brand new. The Booster Club also made quite a big donation of new Eagle gear for that. And then also we have a washer and dryer that students have access to. I would say it doesn't get used a lot on the middle school, high school end, but it gets used quite a bit by elementary to support students and their needs. I see Mr. Krause coming back and forth quite a bit with bags of laundry. And then the space has been, and unfortunately, but also fortunately, it's been used quite a bit. We had 17 different users from the start of the school year until the end of September, so. It was a lot of back to school, shopping, prep, things like that, just kids get to school and don't have quite everything we need, we try to help them out with that. And then Access Period is a nonprofit organization out of Omaha that we partnered with to provide free period products in middle school and high school girls' bathrooms and locker rooms. I restock those about once a week, so we go through a lot of those. Mr. Krause, K-6 counseling, his world looks a little different than mine. He is part of the special schedule, so he sees each class for 30 minutes, yes, each week. He also does short-term individual counseling and some small groups. Both of us work with families and staff as well as outside resources. We are both the 504 coordinators and both PSS team members. Those are just some examples of the types of lessons he teaches. And then on my end, I don't have a set schedule that I am in classrooms, but I work with teachers to get in and provide lessons, go over things with students when I can. In addition to being the 504 coordinator and an MTS team member, I'm also responsible for the ACT, the pre-ACT, the ASVAB, and the PSAT. So just few things that I've worked on since the beginning of the school year. Scheduling, obviously the first few weeks of school, that's a big thing. Kickstart and dual enrollment, working with Tony, our Metro Navigator, to complete all of the registration paperwork students have to do for that. I meet one-on-one with each of the seniors in September. The juniors attended a college and career fair in Fremont, and then we have a college day 4 weeks ago. We have the ASVAB tomorrow. We have the PSAT today, so I'm getting lots of tests from this. During conferences, I'll hold a FAFSA kind of party's not the right word, but party for parents to learn about filling out the FAFSA. Hey, it's a lot better now than it used to be. It's much faster now. We start that process in January with the hopes of getting it done by the time school gets out in May. Spring also has pre-ACT and ACT scholarship applications, and then throughout the year, support of our MTSS team. What questions do you have for me?
I was gonna ask about FAFSA stock with everything that's changed and gone on with timelines and new forms and stuff like that. How are things now?
It's opened on October 1st, and so far there have been no issues, so that's a double win. It opened on time, and there's not a bunch of hiccups as far as I know.
Yeah.
With the new state graduation requirement for the FAFSA, we had last year, I think we had around 6 students that completed the opt-out waiver. I have 2 already for this year that have been submitted. Last year, most of them were submitted. We hit May and I was like, okay, are you doing the FAFSA? Are you doing the waiver? Which one are you gonna do? So most of them that hadn't completed by May 1st are the ones that fill out the waivers.
How did that apply to college? We saw some coverage from
We
that.
had over 65 applications completed in an hour.
Okay.
So they got a lot done. It helps UNO, UNK, you can complete one application for all of the schools, so that helps up those numbers a little bit.
Are you receiving any, I guess, feedback from students or parents on just general changes, with the FAFSA and college, or going into trades, or just kind of feedback I know that's a pretty broad question, but it just helps us understand kind of what you're hearing from students and parents, just in general on all those topics. Like any trends or anything you're hearing at all, or
Trades and two-year schools in general continue to be popular. We are going to have several kids this year that are graduating with over 35 college credits. So some kids that might have gone to a metro or Northeast for a year or two to get some gen eds are figuring out, I have most of my gen eds done, so then I can be going to a 4-year school and getting done in 3 years, or cutting a significant amount of cost out of the process with the amount of college credit they've accrued. But that could potentially change. This is the last year that Metro's guaranteeing no tuition on their classes. Technically, the year before was supposed to be the last year, and Metro is kind of footing the bill this year, so we'll see what happens with that, if they continue the free tuition or not. Because we definitely saw an increase in the number of students taking college credit classes and how many they were taking once the tuition was waived.
Right.
Otherwise, it was like $175 a class, something like that.
It's like 150 or somewhere in there.
Yeah, plus the cost of books.
Have they said anything, like, maybe that's gonna come back,
They would
or?
like to continue it, but it's not like from like ESSERS or whatever money it was before, so.
Yeah, so Metro is footing the bill themselves this year, and
They haven't really given you an idea of what might be
No.
coming in the future.
we didn't even know when we registered last spring, which was like early March. We still didn't know for sure if they were gonna waive the tuition. So it was probably late March, early April before we got the sure answer on that. So I predict it'll probably be late this year before we find out.
And you've seen in the years you've been here now, a pretty increased rates and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was strong when I came in, but
Yeah.
that is definitely, our students are also figuring out the scholarships out there for the trades. So for kids that the cost of college may be a struggle, they're seeing the trades as a really good option because there's a lot of scholarships out there to support those career fields.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson.
Thank
We'll let
you.
you exit stage left. Agenda item 5, review of the annual district plan. Dr. Lewis.
You'll see us transitioning here to, I would probably go back to the goals as well, but this is the first time that we've had our strategic plan to update in that framework, since we had our community engagement. So that came with a chart for us to do the filling out. So I sent that to Katie with what I had in there to make sure we're on the right track, but you can see progress there towards the goals that were established through our strategic planning process, rather than our goal 5 board goals that we have. So if you kind of scroll down through them on page 6, already is kind of where the goals actually start, and you had places for us to fill in. I don't want to read them, through there, but you can for a lot of them as we're going, who is responsible. So the goals were pre-filled for us on the far left, and then the target date, and then who's responsible and what we're doing. So you'll see those in each of the categories. A lot of them are ongoing, to be determined. Some dates are just, they're not things that you're going to just boom accomplish, and you can put that date on there, but it's just a continuous process that you're working with everyone. And so you can scroll through there and see who is responsible for what and how we're assessing that. So you see with our new PLC schedule, not having Friday mornings together with everybody anymore, we've transitioned to 15 minutes on either side of the elementary and secondary if necessary on Tuesday mornings. Tomorrow morning, I will have a full staff meeting so we can go through what we are doing here this evening. So we're doing that. We're still getting our meeting time in that way, as well as our additional PLC days. And then you can just kind of scroll down through all of them. We didn't have something for everything yet, but as we work through this, we will add more indicators on the side or progress updates and all pulled out. And so I'm going to go through every single one of them. This is the first effort at that. Probably do this and the other board documents in January again when we're next up to review them. But I don't want to overwhelm everybody with 2 different documents full of information. And like I said, some things we haven't addressed yet because we're just kind of getting started, and some things we just need some time to say who we are or what we want to do to address them. But we're making progress in most areas already. And like I said, we started the strategic planning process in 23-24 school year, so we were actually kind of doing some of those surveys, and we took a lot of that feedback to heart and started implementing some things before the strategic time have been completed, so we do have some things on there for that. That have been in progress a little bit longer than others.
Makes sense. We've all gone over this a couple of times, so it
Yeah.
should be good for everybody, but just, maybe kind of a tracker to see where we're at with everything.
It's just good to have frameworks to put in there what we're working on and help ourselves, check and balance and make sure that we're working on the right things, make sure if we're sunk our teeth in a project, it actually has something to do with what's either on our goals or our strategic plans. We're not, climbing our own tree.
Very good. We'll move on to agenda item 6, principal's report. Mr. Finkelstein is not able to be here. His report is attached. Please for 2 things I wanted to highlight from the parent teacher conferences, October 22nd, 23rd, from 5 to 8 in the competition gym, and then our strike team will be head out to Hastings to work in Class C and Class A games as well. So Strive getting more work at the games and some other sports, which was always good to see. And then we will turn it over to Mr. Shada.
Just quick highlights on there, but a couple pink out days for you last Tuesday, it's the 7th, and then this Friday again, for some traditional fun things. Had a great homecoming week, which I guess seems like quite a distance now that we've been through that a little bit. But, had some fun days there, and I'm sure you saw a ton of pictures online and things like that too. So, last year was the first year we partnered with the foundation to recognize some of their award winners at halftime of the homecoming. That's been I think it's been a neat opportunity. We've got good positive feedback about that. And so you can see that Brittany Wilkins into the Education Hall of Fame, and then Mr. Fink received the Marion Wilkins Award as well. So I believe a teacher of some of you guys and maybe a classmate as well. Is that right? So,
Yeah, I was in school while she was.
okay. So that was fun. Fun to have them back, and there's quite a bit of family for those folks as well. And then there's the homecoming team thing, which is always a fun thing. So, and a great turnout at the dance the following night. So, fun festivities there. So, questions on that stuff?
Straightforward.
And then the scoreboard,
Oh yeah, you had some questions on that?
document is attached
Yeah.
there as well. Yeah, donation progress.
So we're trying to see where things were at, Mr. Shada, on this. Obviously,
I think, Jackie's voting numbers in above, so maybe you're not seeing it, so.
Mine was just taking forever to load. It's fine.
So there's that. So yeah, board numbers, you should be able to see it.
got it. Okay. Yep. So we were just trying to see where things were at. Obviously, this was a big purchase by the district, and there was a very fluid situation with depreciation and moving funds and stuff like that. So a couple of questions here on this. As I went through the numbers here, the boards themselves were $268,000. That's not counting electrical. And looking at this with removal of the non-payment issue and commitments, we are under the cost of the actual boards themselves. So trying to figure out what's the plan to make sure we offset those costs.
We reached out to a couple bigger corporations in the area and haven't got any traction on that yet. So one said that they don't sponsor at schools, and some of them have quite a bit of ties to the community, and so that's a reasonable answer. And so working on a couple more to get that back through there. So yeah, and unfortunately, the person that dropped out had some issues that were unforeseen. Obviously, they're local, so we respect them for that as well.
So what's the timeline on getting a sponsor in one of the two areas filled, so we know that this isn't going to be a loss for the district?
Yeah, as soon as possible, like just sending out messages and trying to get connected with folks. Talked to somebody today that does a bunch of marketing in the area, and they were giving us suggestions on other people and things like that they've worked with. So that's some avenues I'll pursue tomorrow. We've had other ones that have said that they're interested, but maybe later, things like that too. So But yeah, Chase, to answer your question, it's on the top of the list to try to get filled because we thought we had a good fulfillment there and we don't. So,
So we have, just so everyone knows, we have 2 anchor partner spots, right? So each one, had remained open, so, and we also have a founding partner, which is $2,500 a year for 5 years. We have one more available spot for that, which would also make that $12,500, so.
we had a lot of success in the middle, second tiers. We have quite a few, 9 different sponsors at the premier tier.
So knowing that there's a struggle to get anchor sponsorships and then also the founding partners as well, are we looking at opening up more for the premier partners or what's the game? Because as of right now, we're at a loss at the end of 5 years if nothing else changes of like $45,000. And that's gonna fall on taxes, which we in the very beginning said that that cannot happen.
Correct.
The other thing that I was looking into, originally the board approved for $68,000 to be paid for the boards, and we ended up paying over $304,000. So that's a huge concern because not only was it coming out of our special billings fund, but we were then using taxpayer dollars that we said we were not going to use. So that's and then the first year, yeah, we got those sponsors in the beginning, but nothing has happened since then. It's very concerning if everything stays as it is right now. We're in year 3. We haven't had anybody added and we've lost somebody. How are we gonna make up, first off, the $5,000? First off. The second part of this was that we were supposed to be bringing in more money with the advertisements so that we can hopefully use this for the next project. My concern is that it's getting dropped. We can't be letting things get dropped. It's huge advertisement dollars. First off, it's huge expenses that the board has we've approved. We've already done it. And now as we're looking back almost 2 years down the road, things aren't happening. For me, it's extremely frustrating. And then today we had to approve another expense for those boards of almost $500. That's just going to be money down the drain. Where is that coming from? Are we going to add that to the additional $45,000 that we're already missing? So there's a lot of concern right now, and not just within the board, not just for me, but for our community as well, who was not real happy that we were approving this because they taxpayer dollars, and we assured them that it wasn't. And right now, it sure looks that it is. Something has to happen quickly. I don't know exactly what that is because my understanding from the very beginning was that this was going to be your project that you were going to take on to look for advertisers, to find people constantly getting those places filled. We had a huge, you had all the confidence in the world that this was not going to be an issue, and we're in the 3rd year and it's becoming an issue. So it's very concerning.
He does have a long list of people,
but haven't committed or haven't done anything. No. If I'm wrong, there's been one person that's come on the lowest tier in the last 2 years. So all the people that were assigned that came on in the very beginning, there's been one person that you've added since then. And we've lost someone.
Yeah.
Is this a constant push or is this when someone tells us we need to look at push? I guess that's my big concern. How often are you looking for sponsors?
How often am I looking? Well,
Yep.
amongst all the other things that we do every day, a part of what we do,
Yeah. Well, it is part of your job. I mean, that's your job is to go out and look. That was something you told us that you were going to do.
Yep.
Okay.
With this, and to Cass's point, and I kind of reiterated earlier, why don't we have an update on this until we get the sponsors we need to offset the cost on a monthly basis to see where we're thinking. Because Cass's point, this has been brought up by many community members, and right now we're in the red, not black. So that's an issue. So I'll make sure it gets added to the agenda going forward each month to get an update on that, to see where we're at until we are forecasted to be net positive, which is extremely important on this project. Did anybody else have any questions on that? Okay, Dr. Morgan.
Yes, we have a few things going on the elementary side. Sixth grade outdoor education, went and participated in Camp Continental. We do every year, so a couple pictures there. From them, they get to learn about the history of the area, climb some trees, lots of things like that, good stuff. Fifth grade normally does outdoor ed. They were unable to go to the facility, the government is closed, and so is DeSoto Bend. Hopefully the weather holds out and the government shutdown ends and we will go to DeSoto Bend. Or maybe in the
It's gonna
spring.
be a while on that.
No.
Or maybe in the spring, but
We just need the grown-ups to get along so the children
Can
have their learning
have their
opportunities.
learning opportunities. So hopefully we will get them there sometime this school year. Homecoming week, there's some pictures on the elementary side. We had lots of great dress-up days. The parade was a lot of fun. You get some pictures there. Sorry, elementary student council has been selected. They applied, interviewed, and then were selected, and we'll get some pictures and some fun upcoming events that they're gonna be helping with on the elementary side. It's been a couple years since we've had an elementary student council, so yay, we're excited. And then this last little blurb, just some iReady shout out. So the board generously approved some good money to put into a fabulous new assessment system. And we're working on the elementary side pretty hard to use the system as it was intended. And so we've got some great numbers there. Fourth grade students, 98% of the students were on for 30 minutes or longer. Again, in fourth grade, they got the 96% in math, so they got math and reading the most minutes on. And then if you go to highest percentage of lessons passed, second grade and third grade for reading and math there. But then I just a little blurb, the research suggests 30 to 50 minutes in each content specific area a week, which is about 10 to 15 minutes a day that they spend on it. So it's not exorbitant, but it's targeted practice for each individual student. So they took that general assessment, it puts them on a path, and then they work on that. And then it flags teachers if they're rapid guessing, if they're not engaged, if there's a target area that they aren't able to pass, it'll flag and teachers then pull back and do direct instruction with kids. Obviously, we always want direct instruction when possible. When teachers are doing small groups, this is a good, meaningful activity for kids to be working on for both remediation of skills and then extension of skills who need pushing, kids need pushing on the upper end. There it is, there you have it. That is me. Questions? Oh wait, there's another picture, sorry, just kidding. Board readers are back. This was from the dance team, which was last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, but we've had softball, football's been out there, dance, cheer, they've all been out, but that was a good try. We love it. The little kids love seeing the big kids, which is awesome.
I think FBLA did too.
FPLA, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, we have lots of groups. How many Fridays have been? We've had groups. So that's right.
Very good.
With iReady, have your teachers had any, I mean, so like, yeah, it's great, no, it's a pain.
We're pretty new in figuring out the system. So far, lots of pretty positive feedback on the information that they're getting. So what we've always said is we've been data rich, but like information poor. We have lots of data, but like what to do after we have the data. This is giving us a better track on what to do now that we have the data. And so I think it's made for meaningful conversations in our team time. It's helped for more targeted conversations about student achievement, and outcomes. Can't talk today. So I think it's been a really positive addition. I know for us on the elementary side, so.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan.
Absolutely.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Lewis.
Yes. We had the first meeting of the superintendent of the council commissioner, so I just had a couple of updates from that. We went out to Hershey, so I went out the night before. Saw some old friends from my school district out west, and then attended the meeting the next day. On the agenda was with AI and cybersecurity, another alternative pathway for teachers that would be more school-based. And there were some updates for us about what ACP is doing with the administration of their tests. The state is still requiring all 4 subtests and the writing test for their measure. in April, that's statewide one, but I believe that ACT themselves is pivoting to a shorter test for everybody to register and take this test like on the weekends that you go for it. So there is some concern about how that's going to impact our scores. Um, when you're looking at the statewide measure, it's the longer one. It's going to take them 4 hours instead of 2 if they go and take the other version of it. And then for our just scores in general, when you look at the statewide, not just the statewide measure as far as NSCAS goes, but our state in general compared to the rest of the nation, when they look at our average ACT score, they combine all of those. And a test that they're disregarding, I believe, is the science, which is traditionally been one of the highest set scores of the ACT administration across the state of Nebraska. And so they're concerned, there is some concern that dropping that out will lower than our general ACT average in the state of Nebraska compared to the rest of the nation. So we'll see kind of how that rolls out. We're not 100% sure of any of that. That's just speculation, but there is some changes. And so the concern is students may be less likely to take the 4-hour seriously if they can go. And there's also some concern that maybe schools aren't using it as much for admission as they are other measures. This one as well too. So anyway, big topic of conversation. The additional alternative teacher pathway that I talked about is an LR, which means they're reviewing it before the legislature convenes to see if they want to turn that into a bill. But what that would be is it's basically one of the alternative pathways now, where if you have a bachelor's degree, you can get a certificate, you can begin teaching. And you have to complete a program through a university or through a college. And this pathway would be, you have a degree, you can get the alternative certificate, and you can complete the program that the school has prepared that will make you an effective teacher using the resources that they have available to them, like a strong master mentor teacher and coursework in the summer beforehand that's school-based and school-led. So rather than taking a general course on instructional strategies, you would take the school-based course on their instructional model, like ours would be Marzana, that type of thing. So anyway, it's just on the research level right now. I believe it was initiated by Millard Public Schools. They have more resources that could become an ESU initiative. They could provide those kinds of trainings if it was a small school like us. So anyway, what that is. And then we just had our other meetings, that type of thing. We did talk a little bit about that school finance review commission, that Mrs. Koger is now the teacher, member of the day of this meeting. I had actually talked to the commissioner the day before, emailed him the day before and said, I see you still have a teacher opening. I've talked to one of my teachers. She would be interested. She would be a great person for this committee. And then he called me the next day because we didn't have a chance to talk on a one-on-one at this meeting, and he asked me to have her get her application in, so that's kind of where that was born out of too. That's how Mrs. Cover became the teacher member of that committee. So we'll be curious to see. I believe they're meeting every month, so we'll get reports from Mrs. Cover and we can share it with you and see how that's going. Again, that's a review of TIA and all different state funding mechanisms and how schools are funded in the state of Nebraska. So
She'll be great at it.
she will be great. Yes. And if you can believe this or not, this is something that Mrs. Cover didn't know everything about. So she was like, I'm learning a lot. So it's great. My NERCSA and NASB reports are attached there. NASB does have the State Board of Education Conference coming up in a little bit more than a month. And so if you are planning on attending that, let me know and we'll get you registered. Again, I believe those dates are the 20th, the 19th and the 20th. Is the pre-conference, the 20th is that Thursday where we're usually there all day, and then Friday is the 21st. My legal on is on for you review, if you would like to do that. Probably on the bottom there, you at the meetings that I have building, and then at the top of the vacation views I have. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. And then we do have a more finalized enrollment report attached here for you. So this is the October 1st snapshot. The reason that that is important because it's the date that the state captures that enrollment for us. And so it's spinning slowly up there. And it also is it's the number that all of our calculations for state aid and those kinds of things are based on for the next school year, so for the 25-26 school year. It also has our formalized option in and option out numbers. You can see that at the bottom of the page. Our net positive, sorry, maybe too big and too small at the same time. You can do that. It's like 15.5, but it rounded it up to 16. So we're about between 15 and 16% option positive students. So that's up a little bit. I think between 12 and 13. I'm sorry, 13 and 14 is what it was last year. Not including 15. But if you take a look there, you can see where we graduated a class that had quite a few in, but also quite a few out. So when you lose we had 16 in that were seniors last year and 8 that had option out, and so you're losing ins and outs. It just kind of changes that balance there a little bit. So last year we had 148 students optioned in total, 44 optioned out. This year on the October 1st snapshot, we have 155 and 44 out. So we have about the same amount out, a few more in. We've had more kind of filter in. We don't have more in kindergarten than we have the past few years. We do have some, a little bit more, but we do have more who are attempting to now option in, and with our capacity set the way they are in like 5th grade and in 7th grade and high school, and it's kind of at different levels where kids switch schools in some of our surrounding communities, and parents become concerned about where they're kind of explain some of it. Some of it is in and out with seniors and wash with kindergarten, but we did have more kind of filter into some other places. And then our total enrollment October 1st when we finalized there was 714, and so from our October snapshot last year, which was 705, our enrollment is up in July, 9 students or more. If you look at where we ended the year, final June 2025, 701. So we're up 13 students from where we finalized the end of the year last year. Okay. And then just a quick review of the superintendent evaluation timeline. So they sent me my self-evaluation first, which I will receive on October 31st and have until the 6th to complete. Then you will receive the evaluation, those self-evaluation scores after that on the 10th, at which point in time you will also receive the form for evaluation of my performance, and then that needs to be completed by the 19th and finalized by the 26th, so we can conduct that in December. So be watching for those emails. And then we do have a slight change to the dates for our external visit, right? Again, the external visit is a 5-year review. It's the team that comes out. So 5 years, by Rule 10, you have to have an accreditation review. So this was scheduled to happen Monday, Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, which was like the 23rd and the 24th. One of the team lead actually had some unfortunate in their family, and they will be having a funeral when everybody can be in town, which is that week of Thanksgiving. So it will be those 23rd and 24th. So she's unavailable, and she asked if we would move it either a couple days earlier or a couple days after. Well, right after Thanksgiving break, which would have been the 2nd or 3rd, we have an in-service day immediately, so that's not really conducive to having that school visit. So we chose to go just 2 days earlier, which also coincides with the State Board of Education conference. Shouldn't impact things too much. We'll invite them in on Thursday. We'll begin in the afternoon, and then they will complete the majority of the visit on Friday. So I will probably attend the first half of the Board of Education conference and stay until lunch, and then come back, be here when they are here, do that presentation and visit with them. And then I do have to conduct a meeting, in Omaha on Friday morning of the 21st, but after that meeting, I'll come back and be here with them for the remainder of the day for that. There will be some scheduled times too for, maybe board members to visit, on Friday. They, we invite people in for the, external team to interview. So, a couple of you, we can't have everybody in because then we have to advertise it as an opening, but we can have up to 3 board members sit on the panel. If they'd be part of an interview and those will happen on Friday. So be watching kind of for those notifications.
Any other questions for Dr. Lewis on any of the items in her report? Okay. Agenda item 8, committee and representative reports, buildings and grounds. I'll turn it over.
On Friday. Who wants to lead? Jason, I think you're the chair.
I am,
Yeah.
so being in a car, no.
Jason
Why
joined
don't
us
Cass
via
take it over, cause I can kind of hear.
conference. Yeah.
It's kind of hard too, when we were all sitting in the room, Jason would start talking because you couldn't hear someone across the room, so we were like, oh, hold on.
And there were side conversations.
Yes, it's all good. But we talked about, some things that we're gonna, I think, hold on, I don't remember. I looked at so many things
We
today.
talked about some van things and some bus barn things.
Talked about vans, wrapping, looking at the wraps for the vans, and where those came in on price. That was kind of one of the reasons that I asked questions earlier about how much we had spent and how much we had kind of earmarked for that. There were a couple different options. We decided, Jason had got to see those, so he knew what we were looking at. They're more of the, like, I would say fancier wraps. They're a little bit more expensive, going with the company based out of Lincoln, correct? Yes, there it is.
It's an alum and it's, an Arlington alum and,
Based on their pricing versus other companies closer to us that also do it, it's way cheaper. To go with, and so it's more cost effective for us to go with company in Lincoln. They're also giving us a discount, different things like that. We thought it was a great option. Hopefully by getting a nice fancy wrap on there, the kids will take more pride and respect in that those vans. That is the goal. The other thing with that we talked about was making sure that it fell within the budget that we had already set for the van totals. And did, and we were talking about that, it falls within, so it's not like it's an additional expense, it kind of falls within that 65,000 that we were planning on spending on those vans.
Yeah, we budgeted 200,000 total to purchase those 3 vans, and we spent 193. So we have $7,000. Doing all 3 of them will cost less than this.
So it works out pretty good.
And we sold 2 vans, yes. So we
Which is great.
received $40,000 on that.
So that's awesome. We also talked about some things outside, more addressing the bicycles and scooters.
I think Steve has something that he would maybe like to.
Oh,
join
yes.
us on. Do you want to see the?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to comment that Oakland Craig had a van exactly like that, and it was wrapped, just like we want to, and my eyes were immediately drawn to it, and who's driving? Oh, wow, that's Oakland Craig. So it really does bring the eye to the van. I kind of got a little sense of pride, and I'm like, we're gonna have that soon, people will see the eagle on their way out here. So I think it's gonna be worth it as a little bit of pride in our community, pride in our school, a little advertising. Is it more expensive? Yes, but I think in the long run, we keep those vans a long time, it's gonna be worth it for what the exposure that they give us. That was the committee's feel.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. The other thing we talked about was the scooters and bicycles. We talked about how it hasn't really been a big thing for the high school, but the middle school kids are using it more. And there's a lot of bikes and scooters sitting out here by the door. They're kind of in the way a little bit.
Yeah, we don't have
So-
bike racks in the high school,
Yes.
but lots of junior high kids who come in these stores have just piling their bikes up right by the garbage can.
And luckily enough, when we were there were like 3 bikes and 2 scooters right by the door. So I was like, hey, they're probably cool. We just talked about how we can add a place for parking for those. That'll look really nice. Maybe, just what it will look like, how we can get maybe the building program involved in that as well. So just brainstorming some ideas on that. They were gonna get some bids for that. So
We might need a few more on the elementary side too. Yeah. So there's a rack over there, and some of them were putting their bikes in the rack and some of them were not.
Pretty cool parking lot.
Yeah.
Last thing that I was kind of a big thing for that I talked about it, besides, of course, we talked about the school boards as well. Being, we want to make sure that that's something within our buildings that we want to make sure is kept well and all that discussion around those. But also the upkeep of the grounds. So we talked about reseeding and maintenance of just all of the grass around the building, which there is a lot. We're getting some preliminary budgets or some estimates for that. I had asked, which I'll take some time, it was just on Friday, had asked that we figure out how much we spent collectively last year, because it was broken up into several different bills. And then this year was kind of, they billed all of, or they did an estimate for that once, and it came in a lot. It was kind of shocking of like, wow, that's a lot of money. So we were gonna compare and, touch base on that as well, make sure that we're keeping our facilities nice, but also not throwing money at something that we're not keeping it all year round in. So,
And we did pull those, it's $1,000 cheap last year, but they didn't send us all of the quotes at one time, so we were just kind of doing it, first we did this, and then we did that, and they were,
yeah.
like, one was handled in maintenance, and one was handled in out of the athletics, because it was the field, and, so.
So that's something that we'll have to about
It was more
for sure.
expensive, but based on the timing of when the bills came, they didn't come on the same date, and they were on different board meetings, and so it just.
So that's something to pay attention to, because it was over that $10,000 limit that
This
we
time
as
it
a
was,
board,
last
yes,
year it
this
was.
time it was, yes. So last year, I mean, when it comes in different amounts, it's always good to make sure that we are knowing what we're spending on in what areas. So that's something that we want to pay attention to.
We talked about the lift and the.
Oh, yes, and yes. We actually asked Jason a bunch of questions about, and he's like, I say we go for it. We're talking about how happy the bus drivers have been with our mechanic, our in-house mechanic, which is working out really, really great. Our mechanic has asked for a few items, so that he can do more. He asked for a list of like an actual car lift, so he can do the oil changes. Just in looking back at things, the last time, but one of the times I looked at, just sending a vehicle out to have an oil change done, we were spending like $1,500, where he's going to be doing that for a heck of a lot cheaper by going to pay for that lift in a very few amount of times, and him doing the oil changes and everything rather than sending it out. So we're already seeing, Jen kind of said, we're already seeing savings, because there would have been a lot of things that we would have had to send out that he's fixing and on his own. Which is
Other than a sensor repair on the tire, but
yes, which I think was last month that I heard that, which those little boogers are so expensive. So we approved for a lift, which then can also potentially be used for a class. I mean, that was another thing we talked about as well. And also the code readers. So when your vehicle throws a code, you got to check engine light on. We are looking at, which we are approved, purchased for that software system that he can actually read that. We'll put that on a school computer so that the school will have, which will be super helpful. So,
Yeah, both of those purchases are under $10,000.
Yes.
So they didn't require board approval, but we discussed and everyone in the committee agreed that.
yeah,
Wise
they were,
use of our funds.
yes, absolutely. Also touching a little bit on DLR, since Buildings and Grounds was the committee that was in that meeting. We had our first meeting with largely a lot of teachers and staff members, which was still great. There were some people that said they just couldn't make it, but they hope to make it to the next one that were more community members. So hopefully we'll get some more involvement there. Yeah, I saw that too. So Jason and I were at the meeting. Steve wasn't present, but we had I think it was really good. We split up about 4 different groups, talked about what each group felt was our kind of prime concerns for it within each different section. There was like 7 sections talking about learning and furniture and the bill, like how you want things to be set up. Do you want them more bright or do you want them more neutral colors? So there's just lots of things. They took all that data and then compiled it and are going to, like, we looked at it then, and it was kind of interesting to see how, even though there were all these different groups, we lined up in a lot of areas too. So it was nice to get started with DLR on that.
Our next meeting is coming up. We've moved it up a little bit for, parent-teacher conferences. We'll start at 4 and hopefully be done at 6 for the like, people that are invited, so we don't have all these extra drones that don't know exactly what's going on yet. But then DLR is gonna open it up so that we can talk to more people that are coming through the building. So if there's parents that wanna say something about or learn something about what we're looking at, that they can, first off, educate themselves too and kind of know what's going on. So DLR is great. They have a plan and that's nice to know. So it's a process. It's taking a little bit, but we're getting there. So it'll be nice to see what's after this next meeting, how that goes. Not when we're meeting again, but I'm sure soon. There's always things going on with buildings and grounds. Yep. What I miss?
Mower.
Oh,
Yes,
Mower.
so every year we do, every other year, actually, probably, we do a mower trade-in, the ultimate years. So, I just brought that to the committee because the price has gone up just a little bit over the years. I think it's been, I think when I started 7 years ago, it was 4,500, and then last couple of times we did it at 5,500, and now it's 7, but the price on the machine is $17,000 machine, and they're giving us a discount on that, and then they're giving us like a $6,500 trade-in on the machine that we're trading in. $7,000. Again, it's still under that limit. I just wanted to make sure for you, and we have a line item budget. The budget we adopted was $7,500 for that, so it's good for this year. I'll probably want to beef that up next time we're doing it. All right.
What's going on?
Yep.
Tonight at 8.2 negotiations committee. So this is the time of year where we'll get with the ADA to start the negotiation process. So this year it'll be myself, Brian, and Shannon. Dr. Lewis, were you able to get anything from Mrs. Coburn?
This is 28th and 29th works for the committee. Next week is super busy with getting parent-teacher conferences and everything going. So the last week of October, but we might have PhD rates. Sometimes we have our rates that time. But anyway, they said the full committee is available the 28th to the 29th after school. So those 3 board members will check their calendars. And
28 is good for me, 28, I have another meeting.
28th is good for Shannon.
The same as Shannon.
All right.
Brian, no pressure.
Just said it, I'll make it work.
All right.
Good job.
We've been starting at like between 4 and 4:15, so if that works, I will get that back to them. And again, the first one, we usually are not talking numbers or anything like that yet. So it's kind of, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? So,
The time is better on the 28th, Brian.
20th is a Tuesday.
No, I'll make it work. Make it happen. What are you thinking?
well, 4:15 has been working, but if you want me to go later, we can schedule it for 35, something like that.
Yeah, it's 4,
Okay.
4:15.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll send that over.
Is that time good for you, Shannon?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Agenda 8.3, professional development sharing. I'll turn it over to Dr. Lewis to talk about the labor relations conflict.
Yeah, Mrs. Ark and I attended the Labor Relations Conference. It's just one day, and we're gonna put it on presentation, I guess, but not an awful lot of people do. We just get updates on federal laws that pertain to things like the Fair Labor Standards Act and FMLA and all of those things. So we got several updates on that, some IRS things, lots of things like that. I had my notes that I was going to mention, in particular this one particular thing, and I've forgotten what it was in my notes here. I brought in my school law update notes instead of the labor relation notes. So I don't remember what it was, but we had conversations about those things on my just kind of there's a lot of the 2 different
legal counsels that mostly represent schools and ASB and career law firm conducted a lot of the sessions. We spent a lot of time talking about different kinds of leaves. In one of the sessions I was in particular, maternity leaves and other things like that, and how FMLA is covering and what different schools are doing as far as that goes. So, we've got some things in place that other schools don't have. And there's other things too. I mean, it's not just the maternity leave, it's coming back, it's time for, mother nursing and things like that, and pumping and all those types of things that most schools have to do to be in compliance with all of those laws. So anything interesting that you can learn with?
No, it's a lot of updates. There was some really great whole group speakers on leadership and brand school and those types of things, and that was always good impression to get those positive, what you can do and how you can make good things for your school. So
The keynote speaker was Dr. Charlie Cartwright. And so one thing that I wrote down that I came away from him is because where I was talking about, it was sometimes good isn't good enough, it can be better, and better isn't the best, great. His phrase that he came out with was great, it's just the greatest beginning. So I thought that was really interesting. If you want a great school, but it's just, you don't stop when you get a great school, that's not where it ends, it's just where you begin. So anyway.
Was there anything from that conference that you guys feel like the board could help the school? Like, is there something like with those different notes that they're talking about, is there something the board could help, like, we could help with those things? Or is that more things that you feel like the administration team is going to be addressing?
So I believe, like, a lot of the stuff, and I'm just, like, if I had gone to the first day where Perry Law Firm was talking about negotiations, that would have been a lot to bring back. Yeah, but a lot on the second day and the breakout sessions and things like that was about like I said, it was the FMLA and the Fair Labor Standards Act and what has changed and what are the things you have to do. So these are more like business office compliance things that help you understand how these new laws have changed and the different things that you have to do. But really, that was really less about like negotiations and things like that.
that's a lot of roundtable discussion, more of like, what type of questions do you have? What are your schools saying that maybe another school can help answer or help you with?
Yeah. Contract laws. When people are supposed to get paid for the hours that they work and things like that, that was a topic of discussion.
We've got, employees that work multiple positions, what that looks like, and
Just good
Yes,
refresher things for you guys.
Like classified staff for coaching and in some schools, I think we used to do it here, but like your first year teachers, they start on August 12th, but they don't get paid until like September 20th. And some schools, they want to help them out and they want to pay them over 13 months or something like that. But legally, you're not supposed to pay for hours that you haven't worked. And so it's tricky because when you start on the 12th and payday is the 20th, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, so anyway, there's just some ideas that some people have about it. So those are the different things we talked about. Sorry, I didn't bring my notes, and so that's really, it feels scattered, but these are the things that are jogging in my memory, so. And then 3 of our board members were at the area membership meeting in Fremont a couple weeks ago. I asked John Scott for the slide that he gave me because it was really powerful. I thought it was that data on a lot of it on social media and anxiety and depression and suicide rates and things like that, and how it's impacting schools and how society has changed. So I did that, and then I'll let everybody else who was there share with it too. That was one big takeaway.
Yeah, so Shannon, Cass, and I, we kind of split up like we do every year, going into different breakout sessions. 2 I attended, one was on Spark negotiations. Obviously, it's very applicable for negotiations coming up and what we utilize that data for in our negotiations. And then second was more on, we've kind of talked about it, general K-12 public schools, this legislature, funding, things at the state, what that's gonna look like going forward. I think we'll have a lot better idea here in the next 2 years what the future of changes to foundation aid, if there's any more changes, what that looks like. Because the states have deficit, obviously, and they gotta figure out where the money's gonna come from. So those are the two major takeaways from my 2 sessions. I'll turn it over to Shannon or Cass.
I don't know, there was a while. I would say the same thing, that the data that John gave over social media was pretty interesting.
It's concerning, yeah, it's just really.
Yeah. It's right.
I sat in on 2 that were very similar, but they were more about community engagement and like how do you get like your strategic plan? How do you get rolling on that? What are your focuses? And then also how to like make them like what's the point of community engagement? What's the point of doing a new strategic plan? And how do you implement that? So that was really good information, which as I look at our strategic plan and kind of as we're just touching on that, they talk about how does your agenda line up with your strategic plan. So it makes you focus on those things. It's not, oh, we're looking at it once every 3 months or whatever. We're constantly going through it because we're talking about it in our agenda items. So that was really good here. I think there's always times where you go away with, oh, we're really, they're like, oh gosh, we're kind of behind. Like there's other schools that are really doing awesome. And then you sit next to somebody that you're like, how in the world are you not getting in trouble? Like there's always, but I heard from 2 different people that are like, I don't even know what our goals are. We talk about them at our retreat and that's it. That's the only time they ever talk about them. So we talk about them like every 3 months roughly, and we can talk about them multiple times a year. We really dive into them at our retreat, but I think it just reminds us of, Arlington is in a good place. We really are in a good place, but it's like we talked about, you're in a good place, but can it be better? You constantly keep trying to get better and better. You don't just stay there and say, oh, we're good. You keep trying to, make your school even better than it was yesterday. So that was the big takeaway that I had too, is just how do you keep working to get better all the time?
All right, agenda item 9, unfinished business. 9.1, discuss and consider 3032, internal controls on second reading. This was changed due to some federal items. Dr. Lewis?
Interpretation, and you can see near the end in red, I have the red line attached. I will not keep the red line in there, but that is what it's changed, is travel costs. So if anything that you're spending on federal funds includes the cost of travel, it's different regulations that you have to follow here. So that's all in red, and that's what changed with that.
So now this is the second reading. This would be adopted.
Yeah, we have to vote this thing.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve policy 3132 controls as presented.
Cass, moved. Is there a second? Shannon, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let's vote.
I'm so sorry. It's my fault for not having that one. Restart, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, just Carterville?
Yes.
Brian Walker?
Yeah.
And Wilma, yes.
All right, motion carries. Agenda 10, new business. I want to discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt 2025-2026 option capacity resolution. So this changed a little bit in previous years, just due to the timing. I think this is our second year.
This is the second year that we've had to have this done in October.
So you will see there's no changes to this.
No.
This basically sets our classroom capacities at what the school district goes off of for allowing and accepting students. So there's no changes at this time.
No, it's based on current enrollment sizes and board policy as far as classroom sizes go.
This is a timing thing that we have to do legislation. It's pretty straightforward. Is there any questions on this though?
Is there any concern with the amount this year we saw pretty big, not big, we saw an increase in our enrollment, and it was more on the high school side. But is there any concern if this, like, the amount of option that we're allowing, like, being too much? Are we,
Well, our capacities are to protect, right? And so we have three sections. We have three sections of every elementary classroom. So if you divide those through 6 by 3, those class sizes are pretty, they're still small-ish, you know what I mean? That number will change if we're given, that's just a 2-section, you know what I mean? So that program capacity will go down if we're just down to 2 sections. In high school, this is the number that we had determined several years ago. I think it's been at this since I've been here. That was a reasonable high school class size 9 through 12 because you don't have all of those students in one class at a time, and these are the amount of sections we can the amount of students that would be in that section. So I think the bigger thing that we have to pay attention to is if they're requiring us to report the percentage of those students that we're accepting that have IEPs, so it might limit the amount of non-IEP students that we can accept because we don't really have many IEP applications. And so if they import that piece of that, where we have to have at least X amount of our action applications in special education, or at least state how many we received that were IEPs and how many that we denied. It's going to be a balance of okay, how many regular education ones did you receive and how many denied. Will be the bigger concern there if we have to start making that balancing act. Because we just really don't receive that.
is there any concern for like just the pure number of students in high school? Like, what is our actual occupancy that we can have in high school?
Good question. The board looked at this 4 years ago.
We have the K-12 occupancy,
Yeah.
which was like 850, 48 or something.
Yeah, it's between 835 and 850 for a building level occupancy, if you will. K-12.
And we have enough lockers for all those students if we had 68 in every high school class and 58 in both middle school classes, we would have enough lockers.
We don't really have like an occupancy for elementary.
Yeah, I don't think we broke that down, just due to, we were 135 to 150 away from that total capacity.
Yeah.
But the shifting, to your point, on the heavy high school level, it may be a good number just to have. I know Jackie, Dr. Morgan, please interrupt me here if I'm wrong. I know we've had discussions on the elementary side that 3 sections in each classroom is really the capacity, if you will. And we have 3 sections in every grade level.
6 is currently in two sections.
And that's that weird small class.
So
They're
the
not
element,
weird.
Well, they're not weird, they're different. Different small class.
It's the unusually small class.
Yes.
They're not-
so the elementary is a little easier to probably get than Mr.
To get
Fink's side on
Yeah.
what, as I think classes are so different
Mhm.
on the high school side with
Yeah.
where they're at, where the students are going and things like that. That'd be a little more fluid.
I'm less concerned with the 68 because as long as we keep a good partnership with Metro, that balances some numbers. School to work balances some numbers there where we don't have bodies in the building sometimes. So, I was just kind of looking at Dr. Morgan, the 7th and 8th grade capacities there where we're kind of 2-section, but we can maybe, float somebody to teach one class and if it gets too big, that's where we would have to have a conversation probably more immediately in that middle school area. Right now, we're good, but especially 40 coming in next year, right around there, so.
Yeah.
nothing immediate, but I'm more looking at that number
Yeah.
than that 68 you see there on the high school side. As long as current connections with Metro and all school work continues and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's a little, thanks to Chase for understanding that piece.
Awesome.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adopt 2025-2026 option capacity and resolution. Moved. Is there any further discussion? Let's vote.
Yes.
She's pregnant?
Yes.
Brian Longer?
Yes.
Shannon Moore? Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda 10.2, review the 5400 series and policies. Dr. Lee.
We did adopt 5414 just new in July. That was based off of legislation. The rest of them have not been changed. A lot of these are very short, other than, equal opportunity and those forms and child abuse reporting, but married students, public punishment, search and seizures. Most of these are short, succinct policies. We don't discriminate against married students, that type of thing. Communicable diseases is relatively new too. I believe we modified that one. When it came to it, gives us the health and human services regulations about how we're supposed to communicate which communicable diseases and things like that.
Anybody have any questions on those policies at all? Okay, I'm gonna take a pause here real quick. Students, if you want to bring up your forms real quick, we will sign those real quick and get you out of here.
And then I'll have to end that. So we'll probably have to declare the executive session soon for them.
Yep.
I suppose I better put in.
There you go. Thank you. I probably should have
Steve, do you have anything
put
else?
where the signature was. Your teacher, I put it on the bottom.
Okay.
There you go.
No, understand the signature.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad you were able to. Anybody want to say goodnight, Steve? Bye, Steve.
Steve.
I wrote this camera around and off. That's all right.
You can see us.
Yep.
I'm trying, there it is.
Okay. Bye.
Greetings from the Fairfield Northwest.
Oh, lovely. Safe travels.
Oh, yes. Did you go eat at Applebee's or something?
Oh, no, the salad bar at Ruby Tuesdays, come on.
Yeah. I mean, it is good. It's been a while since I've been there, but it is good. The salad bar in town. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Bye.
Gonna be a football game Friday night or?
Play us tonight.
Yeah, if we injure any of them, because
One of them was very dramatic. He was very slow getting up every time. But that's all right.
His name was Jack Morgan, leave him alone.
No, no.
Ouch, Mark's making a.
Not me.
I'm just gonna let them declare the executives. Take them.
Hey, you're my ride home, so don't leave.
Okay.
It won't be.
I rode in with Taylor.
Okay.
All right, with that, I will make a motion to enter into executive session to prevent the needless harm to the reputation of individuals to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Let's vote.
Yes.
Shannon, yes.
I'll record it when we get done.
Jason? Ryan?
Yes.
Cassie?
Yes.
Chase.
Yes. Okay, the board will enter into executive session at 8:28 PM to prevent the least harm to the reputation of individuals to discuss a personnel matter.